Anything that gives me that level of fulfillment, the goosebumps, the bliss, when I'm in it, there's synchronicities, there's flow, there's ease, there's joy, there's aliveness, there's adventure, and it feels like the universe is opening like 100 doors. I don't think it's something for the mind to understand. We do all these courses and passion and purpose and Dharma, but it's like, it's here. When my heart leads, my mind follows. You're not broken. You look vibrant, you look beautiful, right? Like, I feel energetic, I feel alive, it's like, sure, there's things that we can always like tweak and improve, but that's growth, that's expansion. Slow is sexy, like we don't have to like have this mentality of like boom bust. It's like peace is also beautiful. Like, why can't it be simple? Why can't we just do something we love with the people we love and, have more than enough and share that with the people around us?
Recording. Welcome everybody. Back to the Vibe Higher with Gigi podcast. I am Gigi. Today we have a really special guest. We have Rory Callaghan. He is an author, a wellness visionary, a founder of Self-Care Global, a global movement focused on lifestyle medicine for the people. After experiencing a burnout at age 26 as a successful physiotherapist, Rory shifted his path to explore a more holistic, sustainable approach to health. Today, he helps individuals and communities reconnect with their innate ability to heal through simple, powerful self-care practices, integrating mind, body, and environment. His mission is to empower people to take ownership of their well-being and create lives rooted in purpose, vitality, and connection. I met Rory through the I Am Creation retreat back in November, and I took his incubator back in January, and he's been a mentor and just an inspiration for me. Thank you for being here, Rory.
Likewise, Gigi, the DJ,
Woo!
the woman of many talents.
Indeed.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be here and happy to have a conversation and see how I can help.
Awesome. Yeah, we could start off by just sharing with the audience, like, what brought you to where you are here today in this moment in your
Well,
room.
what's alive? Where am I today? I'm living in Bali. I've been here for 10 years. I got my dog Bo. And I had this moment the other day where I had this just like this deep fire, and this deep fulfillment. And it's something that I've realized that can't be bought. And like, if I look back on my journey, there's been so many peaks and peaks and valleys and mountaintops. And like it's the journey, like that is the way, my capacity, my ability to arrive in this moment and to be able to look forwards and, to feel like my energy is clear and clean and like, aligned, and my true north is like, it's like the North Star is so freaking shiny. It's like, there's no wavering, there's no distraction, like the Dharma, the calling, it's like a pull. That's the thing that feels really present and alive for me in the moment. And also like the community and the people that I'm surrounded by, the people I get to work with. I get so fulfilled, to run, like an inner process with you at the I Am Creation retreat with Alona, who's, she's one of my clients. Like, I helped her build that container that I meet you. And then you jump in the co-creation kind of like incubator, and then I see your gifts, and I was like, whoa, like, because meeting you on face value, it's like we meet people as they're going through the dip and coming out the other side. And then to meet you again on the other side, now it's about expansion and like doing more stuff like this and being in service of something beyond yourself is like, it's beautiful and it's fulfilling. And it gives me this sense that I'm not doing it alone and that there's other lighthouses shining the light on people. And I guess that's what like I naturally do now. And, to have this, the light shining on both of us and someone out there in the world listening to this conversation, I think is going to be really powerful. So I'm curious to see where it goes, and I'm happy to share whatever you need.
Awesome. Yeah, you speak about Dharma. Sometimes it's hard to pinpoint what our Dharma might be in your incubator and in the ChatGPTs that we worked on through it. There was this morning practice that brings you back to center. Maybe you could talk about a little bit more about how one like finds that Dharma within them.
Yeah, I feel like, they say some of the most beautiful souls have the most challenging experiences early on, so that we build the capacity and we get like, this pressure, and we experience a lot in a very short period of time. And I felt like, at 26, I kind of hit that burnout. I lived in the matrix. I did the thing. I had a single parent family. Like my mum's like, she's solid. She taught me the power of women. You know what I mean? Like without her, I wouldn't be here. She's the ultimate creator. And, it definitely wasn't a perfect upbringing. But what is perfect? We had unconditional love, had a roof over my head, and, I had support and belief everywhere. So, that was really beautiful. And I guess having an absent father as well, like when I grew up, I didn't have a masculine presence. So like I had to find it by playing sport and in football and mentors. And, I really learned that it takes a village to raise a child. And I guess, I've been the first one to go to university in my family. I did like bachelor's degree in sports science, and then I became a sports physio. And then I was going back to, work with young athletes, which I once was. And like, so this was the first introduction to purpose and Dharma, because it was like, I'm passionate about something. I'm really curious about it. It keeps calling me. And when I do it, like I don't watch the clock. Time stops, like no one had to force me to study. No one had to force me to help. And to the point where like I worked 100 hours a week, and, I never drank coffee, and all of a sudden I'm having 5 a day just so I can, squeeze in another 3 patients before 6 a.m. because they're busy too. And I found that I had this capacity to serve, and it was driven by something so much deeper. But in the process, I learned that, to be a health professional loses its health is like incongruent, right? So, and it's not that I had like a physical thing, but it's just like mentally, physically, emotionally, like my kidneys were drained, like my adrenals were drained, like the cortisol was up. And I was just living in an environment and a system that was completely out of alignment. And I knew it because I asked myself 3 questions. And this goes back to the question that my mum asked me when I was 17, before I kind of took the first path towards passion and purpose and Dharma, or whatever you want to call it. And I had like forks in the road. I could have been an engineer, a lawyer, or whatever. And she said, "What makes you happy?" And I love sport. I love helping people. I'm so curious about the human body. And then she asked me a question, well, what can you do that aligns with those 3 things? So then little old me goes and gets curious, and I figure out I can do sports science and sports physio. And then I go back and be able to serve the kids that I once was, because I had stress fractures in my back when I was 17. I wanted to play sport at a higher level, but that was, cut short because I didn't have the environment and the mentors to train in the right way. So I had the will and the desire, but like I trained myself to the point of fracture, basically. And then I missed a beautiful opportunity. So the pain of that became a fire to then drive the things I did in university. And then I came back and served the younger version of myself. And that program's still running, like 10, 15 years later, and it's helped 10,000 kids. And that gives me a level of fulfillment. And that was like the first kind of glimpse of what like passion and purpose is, because it came back to like, am I happy? And when I burnt out, I asked myself the same 3 questions to come back to center, which was, even though I was doing the right thing and looked good on paper, and I had my dream job, and like, I had a relationship at the time, had all these things, and like had the full drive, had the car. People in the community thought I was someone of like status. And, but I asked myself, am I happy? And I said, no. Like truly happy. I couldn't fake it. You can wear the mask and you show up with a smile, but like when you're sitting there, it's like, I didn't feel it, was I healthy? And I was like, man, I looked at my eyes and I had like, I was so stressed. Like I didn't have time to go to the gym. So like I was probably down to like 75 kilos, and, like big black kind of things under my eyes, and like no energy, no vitality. And sure, I try to fake it, but you can't fake energy, right? And then I asked if I'm connected to myself, to my purpose, to my family, my community, my friends, and also my partner. I was like, I was so busy running this race that was never mine, that I didn't have time, or I didn't make time for the things that really mattered. So I answered no to that as well. So those 3 questions like pulled me back to center. And it's like, if I ever find myself, am I happy? Am I healthy? Am I connected? I answer no to all 3 things. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I step back, I go into nature, stillness, and breath, I pause, and then I realign and recalibrate, and then come back to my North Star. So when it comes to like, what is my Dharma? It's like, it's that anything that gives me that level of fulfillment, the goosebumps, the bliss. When I'm in it, there's synchronicities, there's flow, there's ease, there's joy, there's aliveness, there's adventure. And it feels like the universe is opening like 100 doors. So, it's like, I don't think it's something for the mind to understand, and I think that's where we get stuck is we do all these courses and passion and purpose and Dharma, but it's like, it's here. When my heart leads, my mind follows. When my soul listens to the whispers, because I've put myself in like not isolation, but in nature, stillness, and breath, and I stay there for long enough, then the mind quietens, the heart opens, and then all of a sudden the soul starts to whisper, and I can hear it. And then once I hear it, I just have to hear it once, and then I go. And then that's my deep sense of knowing. And I have like a daily practice in the morning to come back to that. And if life gets busy or I'm traveling or whatever, and I feel like I'm going off path, then I come back to the practices. Or again, I spent 3 days in nature. I go surf. I go up north in Bali. And then I find myself remembering. And then it becomes simple again. And then when I work from simplicity, like it's easy to follow because it's like the North Star is so freaking clear. And to be honest, it's an end feeling. It's this feeling of, feeling like I'm living a life that is true to myself, not to others. And I live in my authenticity and I help people. I don't harm people. I'm connected to nature. I'm connected to myself. I'm connected to the source. And I know that my inner state, my inner coherence is creating reality every day. So whatever I feel in here, I'm going to create externally. So if I can keep coming back to this, being centered, calm, and peaceful, then I choose that externally. And I can also choose from a place that creates the type of world that not only do I want for myself and my own dreams, but for my kids and like for future generations as well. And I realize that all of us have that within us, but there's just so much noise and stimulus that it's like this practice needs to be in schools, it needs to be in workplaces, it needs to be in our businesses. Otherwise, we end up just building from chaos and confusion and repeating a loop and a cycle that would probably run for decades.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot to unravel there. It's like, what would you say to people who have to have issues like calming that nervous system? It's really to take the time with themselves in nature with the practice because there is a lot of noise out there right now, and so it's coming back to yourself, right?
Yeah, I feel like we're born into it now. So like we're like it's not like we think we have the choice, but we're born into, well, for the most part, if you're born in cities or you're born in Western cultures, understand that like, you know, 80% of people listening to these type of podcasts have access to a phone and internet, right? Which means we're probably 20% of the world that is born into busyness and born into, systems of extraction and 9 to 5 jobs and doing things that never really lit us up just to like meet our basic needs and debt-based financial system and all these things, right? Which are things that we never created and they create a lot of stress. So the first thing is being aware of it. And then 2 is like stepping outside of it. And then 3, starting to model and listen to people that are living with an energetic state or a lifestyle or a level of abundance or joy and aliveness and start asking them how they did it. And I feel like that's the way to really step into it. And then, for me, it's like I want to have a family one day, right? So I'm living a specific lifestyle. I'm not going to go take advice from my friends and family back home on how to live that life because they're not living the path that I'm living. So I'm finding people that are living this with a family, with a wife, with kids. And I'm so curious about their world. And I'm watching their journey unfold and they're, I guess, walking their own path. And it just shows me that it exists. And if it exists, then for them, then it can also exist for me. And then I get to learn that as well, right? But for me to follow that, it's like number one is like environment is 70% of my nervous system. So like having a home that's clear, like close to nature, close to the beach, that flows for me, that isn't living outside my means is really important as a starting point. And then the second thing is kind of like the community that I live in and also the alignment of the culture. Because if I'm in like like a busy kind of like high stress place, like that's naturally going to impact me. But if I'm in a place where, there's the expansion and the growth and the fun, but it's like I can also tap out in any moment and I can like breathe in and breathe out with it, then I get to dance. And then my nervous system gets to regulate. And if I'm surrounded by a lot of guides and mentors and people doing beautiful things that nourish me like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then I'm filling myself up every day as well. So I'm not just getting depleted, right? Which is what I felt when I was like living in Australia. And as much as I loved it, it was a very stressful, it wasn't a low stress lifestyle. And I guess the 2 biggest factors that, give us that safety and that sense of nervous system rest is, environment, connection to community, and also a low stress lifestyle, which is the way in which we live, and how we meet our basic needs and what we do every day and what's meaningful to us. So if we get those three things right, then we can fill our cup every day. We can serve from overflow. Our nervous system gets to chill. If we ever feel like we're a little bit scattered, chaos, confused, step back, take back your energy, spend a week, in nature, stillness and breath, find a place that you love, book that trip, let your nervous system regulate, come back into it and notice if it gets dysregulated again, because then it's clear to see if it's like the environment, the people, sometimes it's like the job you're doing, and it becomes super clear, but it's hard to distinguish what is the primary dysregulator or disconnector if we're in it all the time. So that's like the main thing, is to step back, find center, then go back in and then make choices from there, and then clear the energy, clear the field, and then start choosing things that fill you up and regulate. Like, as an example, I don't need to do a 3-hour morning routine whilst I'm in Bali. It's like a quick 10 minutes, boom, get up and go. But if I'm in a city, like I had this 3-hour morning routine, and there's no amount of meditation and nourishment and fasting that could have like helped me sustain itself in that environment, in that system. And for me, I see it as like a fish in a fish pond. And if the water and the environment is clear, then I don't have to detox as much. But if the environment is like murky and there's stress everywhere and blah, 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 and fear and everything, then I'm a fish that is always on edge no matter what I do, right? So yeah, choosing my environment and where I plant myself is the 70%. And then obviously the village, the community, the nourishment I have around me just makes life a lot easier.
Awesome. Yeah, it's like planting yourself, knowing that there's a lot of voices out there saying like, oh, the travel, or it's like it's pinpointing what your lifestyle is and what's good for you, and then like nurturing that root chakra first, and then going forward towards that, right? Just yeah, find your environment, your home. Because right now I'm just like moving around a little bit too much, and I'm trying to find my center. It's like where is it, right?
Well, the center's within you, right? And there's this is also a pattern that I noticed in myself. It's like when I first left Australia, it was an away from motivation. Like I knew that wasn't it, so I just had to leave it. So I'm like seeking and searching. And then I traveled. I've probably been to 50 different countries, and I found myself like whenever I felt like restless or I felt safe or whatever, I felt that boredom, then I'd move again, so that was a pattern of always seeking out something outside of myself. But once I learned how to find that safety and that calm and that peace within, I could take it back to a busy city. I could take it back to my family at Christmas. I could take it into Bali. I could take it wherever I went. I could take it through chaotic and stressful situations, betrayals with business partners, so on and so forth. And I could always find it within myself. And then I could like navigate each day and find it. And also it's like, there's this thing where, like my family's German, European background. So they're like convicts basically to Australia, right? So just because my grandparents and their grandparents' path led them there doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right environment for me and my future. But it's beautiful because it's there. So when I opened up to like what I value, is like I value where the jungle meets the sea. The cultures like Bali, where it's a culture of karma. This resonates with my soul. There's places like Japan, which like, again, I really honor, you know what I mean? So my path is calling me in these certain places based on energy, based on values, based on culture. And when I go there, it things just feel easier. You know what I mean? And it's not to say like I avoid
Mm.
challenges. Like for anyone that knows me, like I lean into fears, I overcome things all the time. But there's also a part of me that realizes that life doesn't need to be that hard too. I got nothing to prove. So when I find my place and when I find my people, I stay until that gets comfortable and that becomes a new normal. And then from that space, I'm regulated, I'm coherent, and then I create from there, and then I can move from that. You know what I mean? It's like a tree, like you plant yourself in the soil. There's a lot of nourishment, and then the branches can go as tall or as wide as they want them to, right? But I guess for each of us, like we have the ability to choose now because we're no longer location specific. Wherever we are born in the world, we can find a place that feels like home to us. And first we find it in here, and then we can create it wherever we go. And also it can be yes and both. Like I still go back home to see my family, but I also have the freedom to travel and to experience new things. And that's what life is about, right? Like we have this opportunity, so why not? So yeah.
But you have that home base, which is, Bali, even though it's not easy for a lot of people, it's just you find the aspects of it that work for you, right? Yeah.
Oh, it's super easy. Like cost of living is probably a third of what it is anywhere else in the world. Like the access, what isn't easy is Bali is a mirror. Bali is like
Mm,
anything that you're hiding, thing that you haven't yet faced within yourself is like Bali means offering. So like it's an open invitation for everyone to come. If you want to like extract from it, if you want to get from it, then you will get the same energy back what people want to extract and get from you. And there's a lot of like manipulation and masks and things like that. However, if you want to come give to the island, man, she pays it forward a million times over. So, and I think it's a beautiful lesson for any environment, any space. Like it's available in the desert, it's available in the jungle, it's available in Bali, it's available in the city, and it's really just like a signal of what is going on within. You know what I mean? So I like it keeps on taking me back home to something in here, which means that like I can create it wherever I go because it's within me.
mm. Yeah, definitely when I landed back, like she just like everything maybe that I wasn't facing just like shot onto me like a ton of bricks. So it's like she's showing me what I need to like heal and deal with and then moving forward. But the giving is yeah, is a good point. Yeah. So she gives back once you give, yeah. Could
Which she
you
just
oh
gives, and then she invites you to do that. And it's like, yeah, sure, you can come heal and you can do all that type of stuff. But there becomes a moment where you realize you don't need to be fixed. And you kind of cut the story of healing from healing. And that's what she's really trying to show you is that you're beautiful and you're amazing and anything is possible. And like, you really get to be the author in your own story. But we resist that because we've been told this, and the family's pulling us this way, and the friends are pulling us this way, and like there's so many like entanglements and so many things which are like kind of like these. I imagine these kind of like little octopus tentacles, like in our mind, in our heart, like. And so it really invites us to like free ourselves from that, and then to remember that wholeness, and then to remember that like God is within, and then create from that space. And then all of a sudden she's like, woof, and you can like move through anything, without like taking on the energy of others. Yeah, it's like especially if I like for me anyway, I've come from an Australian culture, so like she'll give me anything that I'm feeling or sensing in the moment. If I've got suppressed emotions and I need to feel something, she'll give me waves. She'll invite me to go party or whatever, and then I'll notice that makes me feel better. That makes me feel worse, and then I can keep choosing the things that make me feel worse, or I can keep choosing the things that make me feel better, which is like the lasting dopamine, the delayed dopamine gratification, not the immediate stuff. And the more I choose that, the more fulfillment I get. And the more I choose the quick fixes, the more she just keeps giving me this like boom bust type, this boom bust type life. And yeah, I just realized it's a choice and she's a beautiful mirror. But, at its essence, like people come here and are like, oh, like first 6 months, it's like amazing. I love Bali. And then they're like, oh, and then they start picking out all the faults in it and all the things. And I'm like, you weren't saying that 6 months ago. So it means that something shifted within them. Bali has relatively remained unchanged. And it's like, okay, well, there's too much traffic here. Cool, go north of Bali. Like as soon as you go to Denpasar, like this is like 3% of the island. You know what I mean? So it's like if you're
true.
focusing on that, it expands. But if you're focusing on how beautiful it is, and then I go back to a city and I contrast that, and I'm like, oh wow, even Bali and its busyness is like 1/10 of this place. You know what I mean? But it's also like this
Mm.
awareness that I don't expect to get everything from one place or one person. We have this ability to have this yes and both. Like I can have a home here, but I can have my family back in Australia and I can visit. I can also travel. I can work from here. I can also reach people in every continent of the globe because of technology. So it's like it's this expansion of awareness and yeah, just really finding ways to do what we love with the people we love and find a base and a home that feels like home to us.
It feels like home. Yeah. I love how you said that like we need to heal from being healed because we are perfect and we are always in the right place at the right time for our soul's
Yeah.
journey, for our teachings, for where we need to be, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and also this island is like it's a very healing island because it's very feminine. It's very welcoming. It's like bright sun, it's nature, it's like low stress lifestyle. There's other places in the world that hold this signature too, right? And so naturally, when people slow down, we get time to face the things that we didn't face when we were busy or we were distracted, right? So she just creates space for what's already there, and we either lean into it and like move it and shift it, or we sit in it and keep repeating it. And the challenge I think here, which is the dark side of the wellness industry, is like there's a lot of people that don't hold the solutions or the codes, but they're very willing to take your money. The same thing with the medical system. I was like a physio and I looked at my patient list, and out of 3,000 patients, I was like 5% actually left better than when they arrived. And I was like, I'm part of the problem. This system isn't working. Someone comes in with knee pain, they've still got knee pain 3 years later, it didn't work. So it's like you come here and like you're still like, you know, in a cycle of something, then whatever you're doing isn't actually solving the problem. It's actually like reopening the wound. And sometimes the best thing to do is like, and I was sharing this with a group that I ran the other day. It's like, you know, like the story of like staying in it, like sure, I can go to Ubud and heal for another 6 months, or I can realize that it's already healed and then just take the step and then create a new experience where like the healing comes in actually creating the new experiences from a different frequency. It's taking the lessons, embodying it, putting it into action every day. And then my inner state changes and then my outer reality changes. So I break myself free, if that makes sense.
And like doing the work through the pain, through the feelings, through the unhealed, the seemingly unhealed, like portions of your being. Right. Yeah.
Well, it's like, look at you and me right now. Like, you're not broken. You look vibrant. You look beautiful, right? Like, I feel energetic. I feel alive. You know, it's like, sure, there's things that we can always like tweak and improve, but that's growth. That's expansion. You know, that's not a bad thing. And it's also like, I realized that like slow is sexy, you know, like we don't have to like have this mentality of like boom bust. It's like peace is also beautiful. Like, why can't it be simple? Why can't we just do something we love with the people we love and, you know, have more than enough and share that with the people around us? You know what I mean? It's like, why do we need to go do more healing, more work, more growth, more expansion? Because it's like the more, like the deeper I got into things, like the book as an example, when I wrote that, I don't know where I got the download at 26, right? But I'm going back into the Sumerian tablets and like Akashic records and the history of 4,500 religions and belief systems and looking at the commonalities. And I'm going all the way forward to like quantum theory and M theory and learning how to bend reality and like shift feelings and emotions and create, right? And then in between that is the 12 medicines of like, you know, environment and nature and food and movement is medicine. And like, and I look at that and I'm like, yeah, there's like this never ending branches of how deep these rabbit holes can go, but all of them come back to a simple truth. You know what I mean? Every single one of them. And they're just a piece of the puzzle that reminds us of things that our body innately knows to be true. Like, no one had to teach us to like do push-ups when we were a kid. You know, we just go out to the park for 3 hours and run the monkey bars. We're pulling ourselves up. We're doing cartwheels. And then as an adult, we take that out of our life. The adults that don't take that out of their lives, like the women in Okinawa, they're still climbing trees in their 90s because they just never stopped. It was a way of living and being. Men in Sardinia, they walk to see their friends. You know, they don't jump in the car on a scooter. It's like, it's just a natural way of living and being, and the environment really sustains that. So you don't actually have to do anything. You just have to tune into it and almost like tune out of anything that isn't that, if that makes sense.
So it's inside of us already. Everything that we need, we want. It's just going forward and like serving others in that process, or just being.
Well, I think to serve others, we have to live it and be it first, right? Otherwise, we're just teaching what we most need to learn ourselves. And that's a beautiful part of the journey, like learn, do, embody, teach. And then in the teaching, we actually learn to embody it, right? Because it's like we shift into the witness. But a lot of us go into teaching and we haven't yet practiced it ourselves. You know, like as a health professional, I can know all the stuff, you know what I mean? But if I'm like not going to the gym and I'm not meditating and I'm not moving and I'm drinking 5 coffees a day, then sure, I know it, but I'm not living it, being it, and embodying it, right? So it's not a matter of more knowledge. It's a matter of creating a lifestyle where we live and embody our own truth. And it's like, if I value my health, then I will put time and energy into that. It doesn't become like a chore. It's like, I love drinking water in the morning. I love going, you know, I love meditating because my mind feels so clear. I love going to the ocean and surfing, right? I also love working and serving and helping and creating abundance because then I get to create with abundance too, right? I get to help others. So it's like, again, it's just that shift of like this mentality of it's not like something we have to do, but if we value this and we value our relationships and our family and we truly believe that to be true, then that will dictate our actions. You know what I mean? And then the more energy we put into the things that we do value and is meaningful to us, the more that reality starts to be created in front of us, and the distortion and the disconnection, the fragmentation. So it's like, it's always coming back to that remembrance, and every person, it's going to be slightly different, but there's a common truth for all of us. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you. Is there like a project that you were most like proud of and that you love the most, and that in the past and in the future, the one that's coming up?
Yeah, I think the book is a beautiful example. It's like, I kind of joke, it's like that 7-figure project that makes $2. And I think that's when I knew that it was Dharma and purpose, right? Because not once did I think about how much money I could make. It was always like the mantra at the end of it is like, if it impacts one person, you know? So every time I get a message now, I'm like, someone's in Sri Lanka, like reading the book, and they're like, whoa, like a friend that I haven't spoken to in 10 years is like, man, I found your book, and like, I read it. And me and my wife have decided to take our kids traveling in the same way that your mum did it for you. And I'm like, whoa, like, because I know what that does for those kids, you know, because I know what it did for my mum did for me. So it's like, yeah, I think that project, and it's got nothing to do with the book. It's like whether it was it became a website, or whether it became a video or a movie or a YouTube series or whatever. The journey of curiosity and curation of that, and then like bringing that into a way that I can package it into 300 pages and share it with people that I care about, and they can share it with people they care about, and knowing that it helps and simplifies. And also it's something that can be shared. Like if I died tomorrow, like I had this moment, I was like, man, it's like I left a mark. You know what I mean? I left a piece of me on this world. And I feel like that there's something that felt really beautiful about that. And also that moment allowed me to then, you know, really detach from like the identities that I had been, and also like stop feeling like I have to do something or I have to prove something. So then any project that I had in the future was just an extension of that. You know, I took the book, turned it into physical spaces, because I realized that the human experience is where the shifts happen, you know, the retreats, the experiences. And then I started taking that blueprint, and then, you know, consulting other venues, realizing that like if I, or like when I have kids one day, I want them to be able to go to these portals and these places and experiences too. And I want to get paid to play and like take them with me. And also like, I just like any project that kind of aligns with the extension of that. Like there's a documentary that I'm going to be in later this year, which like came into my field, right? And it's like, you know, I get to stand alongside people that I once really like, that held the signal that I really listened to. And I also get to bring people into it that I feel hold the signature for the future and the signal as well. So I get to help, I get to serve, I get to share. And it's like, not once in my mind have I thought how much money I can make. So like, that's when I know that it's like, it's coming from the right place. And funnily enough, when it's coming from that place, the abundance on the other side of it is like infinite. But I also can't fake that, right? So yeah, I think the projects where like that naturally pull me, time slows down. There's a lot of excitement. I wake up like, you know, just wanting to get out of bed. I think they're the things that really drive me. So yeah, I guess the venues, the portals, the people I work with, and also the extensions of the way that I can share the message with the world.
Awesome. Yeah, and that the drive, the things that want you to get out of bed, that's a big one. Is there something coming up that's that you're excited about, like the documentary or the incubators that you're holding, the retreats that you're building?
Yeah, yeah, like I think I love the incubators. Like they're amazing. Like obviously, like, you know, you're one of 30 that came through it, and I'm just seeing that what like it finished like a couple of months ago, and the WhatsApp chat is like, "Oh," and now like like we're working together. Like you're getting me on your podcast. People are doing the same. So there's something about that energy of collaboration, co-creation, and seeing people doing that in motion that kind of excites me. So we'll do another one in May, and it's an open invitation for anyone that wants to join. And then I'm running some retreats later in the year. Like I love doing this like business and board shorts. So like I go surfing, we do like a men's retreat, and then we bring in the business with some other aligned souls. And then I'll do the same in Japan. So surfing and snowboarding. And then also we have one in Bali for founders and, you know, people that have got this really big mission, but they've kind of burnt out. So everything I create is like for a version of myself that was like 5 or 10 years ago. And I get to pay that forward, and I get to build with people like that, and then it just becomes a natural part of my life, you know? So, um, I think just the excitement and the aliveness just comes from doing more of what feels like that, you know?
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. Thank you for being here today, Rory. Is there anything
Yeah.
you want to, like, more that you want to share with the audience?
No, like it's yeah, like I think just the best thing I could share is like whatever happens in life, it's like it's always an invitation to be the best version of ourselves. I'm the best man I can be, you know, so or the best woman or the best partner, the best husband, the best wife, the best business leader. And like by best I mean just like the most aligned and authentic version of ourselves. You know, like if I really strip back like all these things external to me, you know, I just really want like a beautiful, peaceful life, you know, and I want to share that journey with someone. I want to like have the chicken, have the farm where the jungle meets the sea and, you know, the things that I do and how I give and receive value and receive money. It's just like a bonus, you know what I mean? So I think the simplicity is the thing that'll be most relatable to anyone listening is like find whatever that is for you. And also if you look up, you might already have it. And then, you know, there's no more seeking and searching. It's really just nourishing what's already available.
That's beautiful. Yeah, and there's no stress in like being the best as well. It's like just tapping into that authenticity, the you, and knowing that you are just amazing. We're just amazing.
Well, it's just like
Amazing souls.
just honestly, like we're a soul that has a human experience. We get to live in our full expression or we don't. And like we either keep tuning things that drain us or things that bring us alive, you know, and like
Mm.
it's really that simple. And it's like once we strip back, you know, like alcohol drains us, you know what I mean? Certain ways of living and being drain us. Cool. Like just let that shit go, you know, and like, and welcome in the things that make you feel alive in a sustained way as well. Cause I think this is the thing that like, you know, I could like, you know, I could go do all these amazing, exciting things in Bali and live all of that, but it's just like quick dopamine. So I'm talking about the the lasting kind of like dopamine, the thing that sits there like when you're awake at 10 o'clock at night and you're like, ah, I'm at peace. Like I feel so beautiful. That podcast I did, that person I helped, the thing that I created, knowing that it's going to be out there, or, you know, looking at your family or your kids or your dog and just be like, with your house and you're like, wow, like we created all this. Like this is already enough, you know? So that's what I'm trying to remind people of and myself is that the simplicity is the ultimate mastery and our full expression and aliveness in that is, yeah, is the magic.
Wow. It's simple. It's just super simple. Coming back.
Can
Thank
be
you.
if you let it be.
Thank you, Rory.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
See you, G.
See you guys all in the next episode. Awesome. Awesome.